Hello, everybody. Wanted to get you up to speed on radio buttons and checkboxes. This is week 4, starting week 4 of the Python class. Last week, we got started with GUI programming using the PyQt5 toolkit. We did a simple program with a line edit, label, and some buttons. And we started with the reusable template that I created for you to make this process a lot easier. Some things to remember. If you haven't watched the first 2 videos on getting started with the Qt toolkit, the hope is that you would go watch those before watching the next 2 videos. These 2 videos are designed to give you an example that's pretty close to the program that you have to create on the exam this week. So it's a beautiful Sunday afternoon here, and I'm gonna get started creating a barbershop program. So hopefully the ladies in the class will pardon the slant towards the old style male barbershop, but that's all that I'm familiar with, unfortunately. So anyway, let's get started. First step would be to get a new copy of the GUI template, the UI file for getting started, and also the Python file for getting started. So here I am in module 2 of the class, and you can see that I'm scrolling down, and right here is the reusable template files. So I pop in there, and I need a new copy of the GUI template and the UI file for the GUI template. So I'm on Linux, so you may notice that my screen looks a little bit different, but anyway, I've got a folder called barbershop that I've created. It doesn't have anything in it right now, but it's fixing to have a GUI template.py file in it. So I just saved that down from Blackboard, and now I'm going to save the UI file. I just got the Python code, so let's get the UI file as well. You can see I'm in Downloads and Barbershop, so I got those 2 files. You folks are probably noticing that I'm running Linux, so I've been using that ever since I taught a class at Catawba back in 2007 on how to do everything for free with a computer. And once I went through that class showing everyone how to do everything for free, even though I've got 28 Microsoft certifications, I switched everything over to Linux and have never looked back. And I like the fact that I don't feel somebody's hand in my wallet all the time. So we've got these 2 files, and I'll go ahead and open the GUI template.ui file up with Qt Designer and start making this our barbershop. So let's get started with that. Okay, here's Qt Designer. I'll go ahead and open from my downloads and barbershop folder. There's the GUI template. That's our starting point. You can see that we've got a dialog form here, and it's got an exit button, push button exit, and that's all. So first thing we'll do is we'll go up to File and Save As, and I'm going to save this as barbershop. Okay, and save that. And now you can double check your work here. It's got barbershop.ui showing. Again, a reminder, each time we rename something here in the Object Inspector window, it's vital that you hit enter to make sure that that change is saved. I've seen it numerous times with Qt Designer where even though you rename something and it's showing here in the Object Inspector, if you didn't hit enter after you type the new name, it doesn't save it. You can go up here and hit save multiple times and it still doesn't save it. The only way, if you forget to hit enter here, the only way to really recover is to close the file and then reopen it and then rename it. I've seen it get multiple students, including it's gotten myself, until we figured out what was going on in the seated class. So if you're getting an error in your Python program that some widget that you created doesn't exist, you may want to close this file in Qt Designer and reopen it and check your Object Inspector here to make sure that the names are all what they're supposed to be. Okay, so we're working with radio buttons and checkboxes in this particular demonstration. And you'll notice right here in the buttons group of the widgets, I have a radio button and a checkbox. So what's the difference? Well, a radio button, only one of those buttons can be checked at any given time. Compare that with the checkbox where you can have multiple things checked. So radio buttons are mutually exclusive for whatever group they're in, and checkboxes you can have as many as you want checked. So that's the main difference. Keep in mind that most of the time in the real world, when you're creating GUIs that have these things on them, you'll want to put them in something called a vertical layout. Now, if you're coming from C# or another language, especially Microsoft, these vertical layouts compare roughly to a group box in the Microsoft world. So here in Qt, and also if you're ever making an app for iOS on Apple, they're called the boxes are called vertical layouts or horizontal layouts. So we're going to use a vertical layout to group our radio buttons together. Now here's the thing: if you don't group them in the radio buttons in a container like a vertical layout, then you could only ever have one radio button checked on the whole form here, because the container is the form. And since they're mutually exclusive, if you don't put them inside some kind of container, then you could only ever have one radio button that was ever checked on the whole form at any given time. So let's go ahead and put a vertical layout on here, and we'll then put some radio buttons in it. So I'm going to drag that vertical layout to the form or the dialog. You can see that I've got that now. You can see that it named it vertical layout, and it's a QVBox layout. Okay, so now we can put some radio buttons inside there. Always important to have that vertical layout on the form before you start dragging radio buttons over there. So I'm going to drag this one over. You see it popped in there. Now look at the Object Inspector window here on the right for a moment, and you can see that the radio button is a member of our vertical layout now. You see how it's indented? So we've got a radio button inside of our vertical layout. I'm going to resize my vertical layout a little bit. So now I've got one radio button. I'm going to go ahead and drag another one over here. Okay, now you see I have two. Okay, radio button and radio button 2. Okay, we've already saved our barbershop.ui file, but you see how it's got a little asterisk here to the right of the UI? That says it hasn't been saved since we changed it. So I'm going to go ahead and save it again. See, the asterisk went away. Always good to save your work after you do some sort of a change in case the power goes off. Okay, so let's rename these radio buttons. So I'm going to triple click on the first one here. You see how when I click 3 times I got the little vertical bar that's flashing, and I'm going to rename this reg haircut. Okay, regular haircut. Okay, hit enter. Sorry, don't click off of it, hit enter. Okay, so now when I resize this a little bit, you can see it's called radio button reg haircut. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead here in the property editor and scroll down until I find the text property. You see right here it is. So instead of showing radio button, I want it to say regular haircut. Haircut. Okay, and hit enter. So now I've got a regular haircut right there. Now let's click the other radio button right here. Click that. And then I'm going to triple click on it to rename it. Okay, there we go. And this is going to be called senior haircut. Okay, so now I have a reg haircut and a senior haircut. Alright, let's change the text for the senior haircut to actually match what we just did. Okay, senior haircut. I'm going to go ahead and put the price in there. I was forgetting to do that. So we'll make this one $13. Okay, so I hit enter and that's saved. I'm going to go up here and click the regular haircut, and you see my text says regular haircut. I'm going to put a price in there as well. So I'm going to make that one $15. Just got a haircut Friday, so this will match up to what I actually saw at the barbershop. That's where the idea came from. So I'm going to resize my vertical layout a little bit, and let's see if I want to move that a little bit. How's that? Okay, we can resize our dialog form a little bit too if you want to. Okay, so I've got regular haircut. Let's go ahead and put another vertical box layout here and put some checkboxes in it, and then we can go in and work with our Python code because we'll be pretty much done here. So okay, you notice my asterisk there showing. I'm going to go ahead and save this form again, this dialog. So alright, another vertical layout, drag it over, and now I've got that. Okay, and we got that kind of sized the way I want it. You can see it's called vertical layout 2, and so we can put some checkboxes in here. So there's a checkbox in the buttons group there. I'll drag one over. We've got one. I think we'll do 3 over here. So 2 and the last one, 3. So we got 3 check boxes. Okay. So let's do the first one here. This one's checkbox. I'm going to change it to say checkbox shave. Okay. And as long as we're up here in this top window, why don't we just go ahead and do the rest of them? Remember that I'm going to hit enter so that hopefully gets saved. Okay. I'm on the next one. I'm going to triple click that. And this one is going to be mustache trim, or we'll just call this checkbox mustache. Okay. Hit enter. And this last one will be beard. 3 clicks. And enter. So now we've got these. Let's go ahead and change the text on them now that we're done working up here. I'll go ahead and save my work again. Okay, got these 3 check boxes. So going to click on the first one. It's a shave. And then I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to change it to say shave and put a price there of $4. Okay, click the next one. That's our mustache. So gonna make this mustache trim, and it's $2. And the last one, we'll change the text on that to be beard trim, and we'll make it $4. Okay, so we've got all that done. Save our work one more time. We're gonna need somewhere to show what our current price is here. So a label widget works real well for that. You saw we used a label widget in the last demonstration. So if you'll recall here, the label widget is in the display widgets. So I can drag it over to our form here, or our dialog, and I'm going to change the properties in the frame section here to make it. The one thing, if you don't change some properties on these label widgets, they become invisible and you can't really tell where they are. So I usually like to come in here to the frame section and I'll make it a win panel. You see how it changed? It put a border around it, and then I'll change the frame shadow to sunken. Okay, and that lets me then, when I go over here and resize it, you see what it's looking like now? We can tell that we've got a label there, can't we? So when I take the text out of this thing, we'll still be able to tell that we've got a label here. So okay, so we've set it to win panel and sunken, and I'm going to go to the text, and I'm just going to take all that text out now and hit enter. And since we are going to use this label in our program, we'll go ahead and maybe name it, how about total cost or something. Okay, triple click, and it's the vertical bar is just to the right of the word label. So I'm going to say total cost and hit enter. Okay. And at this point, we're pretty much done with our layout here. So I'm going to save our work, and then just to check to make sure all these names actually got saved, I'm going to you see the asterisk gone, so as far as Qt Designer is concerned, everything's saved. I'm going to go up here to File and Close. Okay, so we've closed that, and now I'm going to come down here to Recent, and I'm going to pick that Barbershop UI and open it up and make sure that all my names are there. And it looks like they are. I've got a label that's labeled total cost. I've got a push button to exit. I've got a vertical layout that's got a radio button for haircut, senior. I've got another vertical layout for beard and so on. Now, one thing about these layouts, you want to kind of change the border on these things, because I don't think we'll go ahead and run this without writing any code except to change the Python code to load this UI. But I think when you see it run, you'll see that these red boxes are not there. So we may want to go back and actually add something so that we can see that this is a box that's grouping these, and there's a box that's grouping these. So, and while I've got that layout clicked, you can see the properties here, and there's really not a whole lot of properties to it, are there? You know, I'm clicked on this one vertical layout, and you can see in our properties there's just a margin. There's not really anything for a border, so we've got a little issue with that. But let's see how it looks when we run this. So I'm going to go ahead and minimize this window, and then I'm going to start up Tawny. So there's Tawny. Okay. And let's go open up from our downloads where we saved the that GUI template file. So downloads and barbershop, and there's our GUI template. As you may recall, the first step here is always to rename this. We named our UI file the barbershop.ui. So let's go in here and file, save as. Gonna put this in the downloads folder and barbershop, and I'm gonna call it barbershop.py. Save that. Okay. So remember, right here, this is the line that we need to change, because if we don't, our barbershop.py Python file is pointing to the GUI template, and that's not what we want. So we created a barbershop.ui. Okay, I've got that. Gonna save my code, and let's run it. Okay. There we go. So you can see that we don't really have a border around these things, but we'll stop with that for right now and go write some Python code. But you can see that our Python code did actually go out and load the barbershop.ui file, and it is running. The only code that we've got written right now is the code to do the exit method. And that came from our GUI template that I had created for everyone. So we'll go ahead and exit out of this, and we'll pick up doing the part 2 video of writing some Python code in here. So gonna stop this video, and we'll continue on with part 2 when you feel like it. Okay.